living under an illusion of theoretical idealism without understanding the practical realities. Our leaders have ripped apart families, bankrupted businesses, and now the nation. As Albert Einstein said, the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. My name is Kadiyali Srivatsa. I was born in India. I graduated and qualified as a doctor in 1982, and I came to England. As a child, I've been raised by a very religious Orthodox Brahmin priest. They have educated me about Vedas, scriptures, mantras, and I had to literally recite the whole Bhagavad Gita. When I was about 6 or 8 years old, I contracted malaria. A good doctor who listened to me and diagnosed as malaria, he gave me quinine. A few days later, I was feeling better. This happened again. I was very ill at that time because a doctor who did not listen to me diagnosed me as having typhoid, and he was giving the wrong treatment. So I kept telling my mother, I said, look, this looks like the same malaria I had as a child. Why did you give me the medicine? And she wouldn't. I found this quinine and I took it myself and I got better. This doctor who had diagnosed as typhoid had not only examined me, but he had sent me for various tests, given a huge bill, and I was getting sicker and sicker. And that is when I learned medicine is not a profession which you can say, if A happens, do B. A. If C happens, do D. You have to listen to every person's story. It's always different. So, in 1996, that's what I said and I wrote. Every person who comes to see me comes with the story of an illness as they have lived and experienced. So it's my duty to listen and offer a solution, not a prescription. And that is where we have gone wrong. In the high school, I was a scout leader and I was treating students with all sorts of illness. They used to come out with their stories of various symptoms. So I went and joined British Council, and I was reading state books where I had grasped certain things about history. Majority of the illnesses those days were diagnosed based on the story because we didn't have enough tests. We didn't have all this high fluid CT scanner and MRI scanner. So we always listened to the patient and examined them properly and diagnosed the illness. I passed from my pre-university with distinction, so I got a free medical college seat. I didn't have to pay a lot of money. So I qualified as a doctor. During that time, I was staying in a village with my brother in a farm. Village people used to come to my farm. It was called as the doctor's farm because they thought I'm a doctor because I was going with white coat. And it was very difficult for me to tell them, look, I'm not a doctor, I'm a student. So I will get you whatever I can. So I used to catch out of the medical reps, get some drugs and give it to them. I felt really sad. I said, for silly things they are coming to see me. If they go to the doctor, they'll be spending so much money on the top of it. So at that time I thought, there should be a simple method where you can have a story, come to a solution, whether they need a doctor or not, 8 out of 10 times, there is nothing seriously wrong with them. It's just anxiety or somebody else telling them, go and see a doctor, you must get tests done. So the people rush to the hospital. So I knew there must be a method where you can isolate these two people, who needs definitely doctor's advice, who doesn't need doctor's advice. So I qualified as a doctor, and then I came to England to see if I can do some research on this project. And I started working in pediatrics. I had to pass exams to prove I am safe. And after that, I worked in the hospital. In hospital, initially I worked as a junior doctor for a year and quickly moved up to be a registrar and moved further, where I was the only doctor in the hospital who could give proper advice, because most of them were trainee doctors. and I had one senior doctor who's called as a consultant. Apart from that, there was nobody. We had three doctors literally running the home business. In 1989, I went to work as a locum doctor in a village in Wales. I was woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, called to measure a blood pressure of a 14 years old boy. I thought they were joking. He said, "What do you mean you can't get a blood pressure on a 14 years? It's highly unlikely." He walked into the hospital and no blood pressure. That's ridiculous. It's not true. But he insisted, "No, the nurses have tried, other doctors have, nobody recorded the blood pressure." So I went. I couldn't believe it. That was the first patient I saw who walked in, perfectly talking well, with no recordable blood pressure. I treated him as sepsis. The secretion of rotting skin was pungent and made him suffer and die a painful death because none of the powerful antibiotics worked. The cause of death was said to be commensals, which turned out to be Staphylococcus aureus and now well known as MRSA. Watching this healthy boy die, holding my hand, instigated fear of infection and death. The fear of pain and suffering made me stop thinking about my career. I started the torturous journey in search of a solution to protect my own life. I spent years observing and searching for alternative methods to fight infections and save lives. Knowing these microscopic enemies that live on us, thrived on us, are stronger, more intelligent, and understand the genetic vulnerability with lethal precision. I conquered fear to create Maya and share knowledge, experience to help you conquer fear, empower you to make informed decisions. As a doctor, I always said, "I'm not God who can save lives, but I have mastered the art of resuscitation to help postpone death." I'm 65 years old, retired doctor, living on my own, using my savings and pension to fund my passion. The time has come when I must step out of my den, challenge institutions and people in power, making a mockery of my profession. To continue with this work, I need motivation, support, and help from people like you. Download my app, Dr. Maya, read my book, and conquer your fear. Be prepared to protect your family, friends, and your own life.